That was the Doctor Who Tin Dog Podcast, available on iTunes, YouTube, Twitter, RSS, Vimeo, and across the internet. Doctor Who and its associated properties are all copyright and trademark of the BBC. No infringement is intended. Why not become a supporter by visiting patreon.com/tindog. Contact the show on tin-dog@hotmail.co.uk. The Tin Dog Podcast is a founder member of the Doctor Who Podcast Alliance.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the UFOcast. I'm Luke.
And I'm Michael.
And we are back after, I think, 3 months.
At least. Yeah.
Yes, we've had tweets and Facebook messages going, "Are you going to finish this?" To which I have.
Have we? I haven't seen any of those.
Yeah, well, we definitely,
because I don't do Facebook.
You don't manage the accounts, which I do.
That's
so yes, we do apologise for our absence. Obviously, if you're listening to this in the future, you'll have been able to go straight from our last episode on Destruction to this episode on The Man Who Came Back and not have noticed anything. But we have been gone for quite a while.
Yeah. In all fairness, the gap was perfectly acceptable for the Tin Dog Podcast listeners because they had a whole TV series with this woman travelling around time and space to fill in the space left by the UFOcast. But we're back now. It's fine. We promise we will keep going till the end. It might be a bit sporadic, but we will keep going.
Yes,
okay?
And we've only got 6 episodes left to do, so this should be doable. So this week's episode, as I said, is The Man Who Came Back. Michael, have you got a terrible synopsis for us?
Terrible synopsis. We never did come up with a theme tune for this, and it's a bit late now. Okay. Spaceship pilot Craig Collins disappears while making re-entry into the atmosphere and is believed dead, pre-title sequence. However, 2 months later, he suddenly turns up in the South Pacific. He's immediately put back to work on Shadow Sid's satellite, on which he's an expert. But after attacking Virginia Lake, Paul Foster and Colonel Grey, it becomes clear that something's wrong with Collins, you think? Tests show that his personality centers have been destroyed by laser beam surgery. And that he has been programmed by the aliens who did it so that he could be controlled with sound waves. Obviously, because they travel in a vacuum. Leave it. All that remains is to alert Straker in time. He's on a mission with Collins, who's been programmed to kill him. Not even remotely similar to the episode we did 5 minutes ago called Kill Straker.
Yes. That's one of my problems with this episode.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's definitely retreading some... Yeah, well, I've even my first line in my notes is, "This is a greatest hits episode. Stuff we've all seen before."
Well, and a little bit of stuff we haven't seen before with the sexual assault, shall we say?
Well, I don't even we didn't even be like have a euphemism about it. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, right. Okay. So you've got this guy. Are we just jumping straight into it? I suppose
just go ahead with your thoughts. Yeah.
Right. Okay. We've got this guy, the guy who wears too much eyeshadow. I mean, I know it's the 80s, so fair enough. Right. And he is. He's one of these actors who, if you watch TV from the time, I didn't bother doing any research about him because obviously, it's not like I knew I was doing a podcast or anything.
Which one are we talking about here? Are we talking about
the main character? One of Straker's best friends, a bloke we've never seen before.
Yeah, we're talking about Darren Nesbitt here, as opposed to the other dude whose name I forget. You've got Collins, who's been, as we later find out, taken over by the aliens, and then Grey, who is apparently it was either between him or Wanda Ventham as to who became the regular for this second half of the series. And I have to say that I'm so glad it's her.
Yes.
Because I find him just a bit odd.
Well, there's also too many men in it. I mean, let's face it. I know there's more women in this than there are in lots of other TV series made at the time, but there's still too many men. I mean, a lot of the women are... It's like Uhura in Star Trek. There's a lot of women answering the phones. They're present, but they're not doing a huge amount. They're not the pilots on the moon base. They're looking at radar screens, telling people. It's the war room thing of the Second World War, where they're moving stuff around. So you needed at least one female character up there just for some sense of balance. And not just for the dads, like people keep saying. Ugh.
Yes. But I think she's a better actor and is more interesting than... and is it Raymond? Gary Raymond? Possibly? Somebody Raymond. Anyway, he's not in... the guy with the dark hair.
Yeah.
He's not in my Anderson watch, so I haven't immediately got his name to hand. But anyway, so you're talking about Darren Nesbitt, who's playing Collins, who will come up later in, I think, possibly all 3 watches.
I did catch a few episodes of The Protectors on ITV3 because they're currently showing it about 6 o'clock in the morning. I think they've started the run again, actually.
Right.
Anyway, the first episode that I saw had him in it playing somebody who's unhinged. And it was, it looked and felt very much like one of the later Tara King episodes of The Avengers.
Right.
There was like a fake court scene and people dressed as monkeys, a bit prisonery, but, like prisoner light kind of thing.
Right.
It was very strange. But he played just someone who was completely deranged. And then I saw him in this, and I was like, oh, it's the same bloke. So clearly they liked the performance in this. They went, let's take it a bit further, and we'd go like that. But it did feel a bit Avengers-y in that sense. We're talking Peel and King. We're not talking Iron Man and Hulk, obviously. Whenever I do say Avengers, just take it as a read that I mean
you mean
the 60s
the British
TV
Avengers
series.
as opposed to the American
the
Avengers.
proper ones.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I get what you mean, because he is a weirdly charismatic presence. Like,
all of his lines are awful. I mean, you've got to be a hell of an actor to be able to pull off saying the things that he says and doing the things he does, and people still to go, yeah, he's all right. I mean, he's beyond anti-hero. He's just scum.
Yeah, and I think, but the thing is, there should be more concerns about him. He shouldn't end up on the mission at the end with Straker, putting Straker's life in danger. The fact that Jackson is making the tests on him that he is should mean that he's kind of quarantined on Earth until those tests are complete, right? I mean, it's one of these things where the point that it gets to is just so implausible, and I think part of it's just that I don't believe that Straker would have that kind of friendship. You know?
No,
like,
you're right.
The closest person we've seen to him for the whole series so far is Alec Freeman, right? And their relationship was believable and was sort of, to some extent, at the heart of the show for a long time.
Yeah.
And you were like, okay, and we got to see flashbacks of that. You see that they've known each other for a long time. They work well together, and you just believe that, right? And then suddenly this guy who is just doesn't feel like the kind of person that Straker would get on with at all. And Straker makes these poor decisions based on this supposed friendship. And it's a friendship I don't believe in.
There is an argument. No, but there is an argument that can be made, right? And just imagine this, right? We're imagining that it's real for a bit, okay?
Okay.
There's somebody who's your friend. You've known them for a very long time.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, all of a sudden, they have a traumatic event in their life.
Yeah.
Right? They're marooned for 2 months, apparently. Not that they've had surgery, but they've been marooned. And they come back and they're a bit changed by the events. You'd kind of give them a bit of leeway, I suppose. You'd be like, well, they've been by themselves for 2 months. Are they going to be more themselves, less themselves? Are they going to have trouble adapting back into society? So the person that we're seeing definitely wouldn't be friends with Straker. But the person who was friends with Straker, he's dead. It's not him. But I suppose they've made this character operate and behave like the original so that he would fit in and not draw attention. So yeah, your argument's correct. I stand corrected. I'm wrong.
No. I think you have a point up to a point that you would have to make allowances for the time spent missing. But to me, that's all the more reason to not put him immediately back into operations that Shadow are doing.
Without question.
Until you're sure that he's recovered. And
we should still be human resources at Shadow.
Well, this is our job. I suppose I think the way that he is with Virginia Lake, and again, this is us putting our modern day eyes on it. It's just it's not nice, and she doesn't accept it. I mean, it's not like this is okay. It's made quite clear within the story that the way that he assaults her is not appropriate. But at the same time, that should be taken.
The biggest
ultimately
comment is,
more seriously about
the
it.
jungles come back in you, as opposed to, oh, you're going down, mate.
Yeah.
Or you'll never fly in this spaceship again. Or whatever.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think it's really terrible for us to come back after this absence and go, oh, the next episode we're doing, it's rubbish. What do we like about it? What can we say?
To be fair, I think that's part of the reason why it took us so long to get back into it. Because, Psycho Bombs, there's a few other really storming episodes coming. But this is like a Wednesday of an episode. You're like, I've just got to get through this one and out the other side. And when you're actually in it, you're thinking, it's quite well. It's a perfectly well executed stuff. There's some great model work, lovely spaceship at the beginning. The works. There's some great stuff with Sid in space. There's lots of really nice stuff. Great performances. There's some good performances as well. Like you said, the Virginia Lake stuff, really nicely done.
What do you think about the whole Collins training Foster aspects of the episode?
Do I want to use the word shipping or homoerotic at this point? I'm not quite sure.
That's definitely a modern day spin on the.
It certainly is. To be fair, you know what? It might not be. Yes, it is a modern state. Well, I don't know. Shipping isn't, but yeah, it's ridiculous. I suppose it's because the guy's got no off switch. Maybe they've turned him completely into ego, removing everything, because that was a big thing at the time. The whole splitting the personality off into parts.
Right.
So perhaps that was what they've gone right. As a performer, your way in to see this character is you are now all ego, and the actor would go, yeah, fair enough. I've got a handle on everything now. Here we go, and that's how they would do it. So perhaps that's what this is.
Yeah, could be. This feels, particularly the sort of judo-y stuff, feels like a bit Prisoner-esque. Because, well, it's not really like Kosho at all, but there is an element of well,
there's a lot of throwing yourself around.
Throwing around.
The way it's been shot is a lot like Kosho, because they're a lot tighter on that, and then the long shots are very far away for that, obviously because it's somebody else. Yeah. And I know there's a whole stuntman aspect thing, so yeah. And I suppose,
and you do have the fact that these episodes are mostly directed by ITC directors. They brought on some more experienced non-Jerry Anderson people. So that was a nice, for me, in my head, there's a sort of connection there. I do enjoy Darren Nesbitt as a screen presence. I just wish that he was less problematic as a character. Because his performance is telling you that you want to like him, but then pretty much everything that he's doing is working against that, because he's the baddie in the episode. And I suppose that's what they're going for. So maybe we have to judge the episode as a success in that regard. I just think the whole thing makes me feel a little uncomfortable.
Apparently, sorry, I could not help myself. I had to look him to find out years active, 1956 to present, which means he's still alive.
He's still alive, yeah. He's one of these people that kind of people you think he's dead, but then he's like, no. And I think there was an interview with him in Doctor Who magazine a few years ago where
he's 83.
Yeah. And he was like, people think I'm dead, and I'm not.
No, and he was in Where Eagles Dare.
Yes.
Which I think that's
probably his most famous
I am
thing.
massively skipping ahead here, but I just wanted to. I was like, but I haven't seen him since this, but I suspect he's done that thing where you grow old.
I was going to say he's one of those people that I there's not, apart from this and Doctor Who and The Prisoner, I don't think I'm that aware of any of his other stuff. But he's been quite prolific and clearly has done stuff more recently. What do you think about the whole Sid situation in this episode?
Right. Well, I know I don't want to revert my learned colleague back to other stuff, but we've dealt with the fact that having Sid in space, unless there's a scientific reason for computers running better in a zero gravity or something like that, having your computer heart miles away from you isn't that clever. So perhaps he's a scanner or a sensor or something like that, so that's fine. But having him just in one place, that doesn't work either. You'd need like a fleet of SIDs in a circle to protect the Earth. We've dealt with that. That doesn't happen. So we ended up with a conclusion that it might be on the opposite side to the moon. So you've got the moon on one side and Sid on the other side trying to cover like 360 degrees around. But that didn't work either because then they'd have to communicate with each other. And it was a whole line of sight thing. So Sid's in space somewhere. He's their computer and their sensor. It's one of those things that if you look at too closely, you go, does that work? So we don't think about that, right? So apart from those obvious points, apart from viaducts, law,
what has Sid ever done for us?
Ever done for us? Yeah. So and I didn't realize I was reading that UFO book, the really good one, and apparently the bloke who did Sid's voice was a continuity announcer from Tyne-Tees TV, which is where I'm from, who decided to go into acting, which is how come he got this job. So he's basically, and now on UFO channel, this. And I do like the idea of Sid being a continuity announcer.
Yes. Well, and also, he's uncredited. Poor chap.
For the whole run? That's ridiculous.
I think so, yeah. Every time I look these things up on IMDb, it's like, voice of Sid, Mel Oxley, uncredited. Which is, I mean, it's the same as Fenella Fielding in The Prisoner. She's never credited as the voice of the village. And you wonder,
she's so good.
Oh, she is. You just wonder what there must be certain rules about voiceover parts that mean that you don't have to credit. I don't know how it works or how it worked.
I've got a recording of Fenella Fielding doing the good morning speech from Prisoner on my phone as an alarm for the morning, which my wife has banned me from ever using. Because if it's going off at 5 in the morning, the last thing you want is Fenella Fielding shouting at you. So
yes, I think I had the opening guitar strings from Hard Day's Night as my text tone for a while, and my wife banned me from using it because it was just she was just like, it's too I don't know what the word is. It just comes out of nowhere. And she was like, you need something a lot softer for your text tone. So I replaced it with some background noise from the Keys of Marinus, which is very soft and you wouldn't often hear it.
No. Oh, right. Sorry. On the subject of completely meaningless things, allow me a quick segue and I'm coming back. I've got the episode playing on in the background. Now,
as have I, yeah.
In the episode, there is a famous painting, which is a pair of lips. Now, it's usually in Straker's office. But it's also in one of the corridor scenes on the moon base during the decompression scene because they just move it around a lot.
Right.
And it looks a bit like the lips from the Rocky Horror Picture Show opening.
Right.
Which, for those of you, it's basically a big pair of lips. But anyway, that particular painting, I found the original in Bradford. Weirdly, this is even more bizarre. I went to see Bagpuss, the original puppets, on display at a special exhibition. With I think it was last summer, and I've been meaning to tell you. We went into another room, and I looked up, and it was the actual thing. The original art was there in the pop art room. There's a little pop art display, and I was like, "Oh look, it's the poster from Straker's office." And my wife just went, "You need to get out more." Oh, hang on, we're out more. Damn. So you need to stay in more. That's what she was basically saying. So I was quite pleased that I'd seen the original. I know obviously it's a print, but it was an original from the exhibition, so I'd seen it in the flesh, so to speak, which was nice.
Cool.
Meanwhile, back at the actual episode, because I'd just seen the thing on the wall during one of the decompression scenes.
Yes,
so, sorry, again, all over the place, and I haven't even looked at some notes.
Yeah, can you might be able to provide some structure for this, yeah.
I could, but I think it's too late. I think it's far too late to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, right, sorry, I made a list of the greatest hits, and I think I got up to 7 before I stopped doing it.
Okay. What, you mean the things that they're repeating in this episode?
Yeah, the things that we're repeating. Yeah, it was like, and which episode they're from. But most of them are from Kill Straker and are just recurring themes, you know.
Yes.
Was aliens corrupt a friend after an apparent accident. There's blind person interaction as well from A Question of Priorities.
Oh yeah, of course. You got Ronald Culver as the old dude.
Yeah, I mean, you just need a series of blind people around all of the shadow installations to go, alien, there's one. And that'll do. What is it? Good guys.
It plays into that ESP thing as well.
Yeah.
And I suppose there is... I don't know what the science behind this is, but they say that if you're missing a sense, then your others are heightened. But the idea that being blind makes you kind of able to detect weird things about people just seems a little bit daft. And also sort of maybe even disablest. But I don't really want to go there.
Let's not.
Yes.
There's the recurring theme of computers know best. There's as always, a brand new theory about alien mind control. See Cat with 10 Lives.
Well, it's and I suppose we'll come into this next episode as well. But there's just so much that is. It's not Monster of the Week. It's Alien Plot of the Week.
Yeah.
And for example, like the Psycho Bombs thing. And we will come to this next time, but that is solved by them blowing up the UFO that's doing the controlling. So there's nothing to stop them doing the Psycho Bombs thing again. And in the same way, there's nothing to stop them using any of their mind control techniques or whatever it is for another go. Whatever it is, but they don't. And obviously that makes sense televisually because we're watching this piece of artifice. And we don't want to see the same plots over and over again. But there is a sense of, well, if this was a real thing, then surely they would try some of these things again. They would, and we know, for example, from the one with Stephanie Beacham that there's potentially other people out there who are under the control of the aliens. That could be used in the same way that Roper was in Flight Path, for example. It's like, well, that was actually a really good plot to get them to basically be their own demise by giving them the flight path to destroying Moonbase. Do that again, aliens. That was a good idea. I think that's just one of those things where you just go, okay. Well,
so what you're actually saying is the aliens' real problem is a lack of staying power. Because if they tried the same plans again, they might work better.
Yes, I mean, like I said, with Psycho Bombs, it's literally, if the UFO had been destroyed, I don't know, 10, 15 seconds later, she would have blown up Shadow HQ. So why not do it? Why not send another UFO and take it for some more Psycho Bombs? With this, okay, so you failed at the last minute, but why not attack someone else in space and burn out their mind and try again?
Send more of them this time, not just 3.
And there is that thing of going, it's taken them 21 episodes to decide to blow up Sid, and you kind of think that should have been one of their first plots that they had. Yeah. Which I suppose, if depending on which order your region showed this in, you could put this much earlier in the series and go, well, it makes more sense for it to be in that order that this episode comes in, and then you'd be watching going, oh, Kill Straker, that's just a copy of The Man Who Came Back. So it all depends on what order you watch these things in.
Fair enough. Also, if you had a bigger gap though between the two, that would work.
Yes, that's true. It's only been sort of 5 episodes since we had Kill Straker.
No, yeah.
So you're right about the model work though, but I think that's isn't some of it from the Doppelganger? I believe they've borrowed it from that, or at least it looks like the same stuff. My main thought, really, and I think I've expressed this, is I wanted to like it better, but there are lots of things that just don't work or sit right about it for me, which I think we've elaborated upon. What about yourself?
Well, no, I must admit I do feel very similar to that. I started looking out for the little things, like the fact that they take their wigs off when they're off duty on the moon and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yes.
That's a sort of thing. But I have actually written Craig Collins is God is a line mentioned by Straker. So saying that it's a bromance, all right, it might be my 21st century view of the text, but I think a 1970s view of the text, if you were leaning in that direction anyway, you would have been wanting to read that in. Isn't there a famous movie like that where it's like the gays were always there. You just didn't see them. Here's the clips from all the movies. I forgot what it's called.
Ben-Hur is definitely
yes,
that. But depending on who you talk to. But yeah, certainly if you talk to the screenwriter and you talk to the one who isn't Charlton Heston, because they were like, we're not going to tell Charlton Heston because he won't go with it.
Really? The NRA member Charlton Heston?
Yes. No. Yes. I mean, I've heard it. I'm pretty sure Fraser Hines has said at various points that there were aspects of the Doctor and Jamie that they tried to play in that regard. You know, you've got the hand-holding scene in Scene with the Cybermen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
that's nice.
that he's kind of basically said that they, as much as they could, they were kind of trying to put little bits like that in.
Nice.
But they're so subtle that you don't have to. I mean, I was like, okay, that's news to me.
But so why would? I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad thing by any stretch of the imagination whatsoever. I'm just wondering what their motivation was for that. Was it just something to keep themselves amused?
Knowing them, probably. But at the same time, I mean, if the climate was very different back then, wasn't it? And so if you were going to do something like that, you had to make it very subtle.
But I mean, I was wondering why bother in the first place.
Yes, I don't know.
That's my real thing. Oh no, if you're going to do it in any way you can, in any way you want. But I'm just wondering what your original motivating. That's it. That is something to ask Fraser Hines at some point when he does one of the full million other conventions that he does.
Yes,
that's kind of
because were we both interviewing him at Hooverville when he was there. I can't.
Possibly.
It's on my YouTube channel. The interview that we did, and I think it was one of those ones where there were just a load of podcasters around a table, and I just can't remember.
Well, if it's on video, and if there's a slightly wider person who should be less wide and has slightly unruly hair, with glasses, that'll be me.
I'm not sure that you can see any of us. I think it's just one of those ones because I
I
pointed the camera at him. But I mean, you can see people asking the questions. By the way, I've just getting to the
I'm
end of
the
the
ridiculously attractive man off the camera, right? Yes.
I'm just getting to the end, and you know, in your terrible synopsis, it said they were going to control him with sound waves.
Yeah.
It is actually radio waves, so the terrible synopsis
sense,
is definitely terrible, and this is much more plausible.
So why do you think Sid is? Well, why do you think Sid is where he is?
Well, we don't really know where Sid is. We know that he's above the Earth somewhere, but because the landmasses on the backdrop that they use aren't particularly accurate. It's very difficult to say which he's orbiting. And like you say, there is that idea of, well, you could put him on the opposite side of the moon, but then how would he communicate? You definitely would have to have several SIDs to make it work, really, wouldn't you?
Yeah. But we don't like to think. I mean, there's only one from the Bird 5.
We are probably being more harsh on this episode because we don't really like it than we have been about other ones.
Yeah, you know what? You're right, though. If I'd seen this one before Kill Straker, I would have definitely thought that Kill Straker was just a reworking of this.
Yeah.
So I get that. And also, is the plot for him to take out Straker or to take out Sid? Because they managed to take out Sid for a good couple of months, because that's how long he's been missing, and they're sending him up to fix it. So the aliens could have done whatever they want, including build a giant underwater dome version of Shadow if they wanted to, in those 2 months.
Yes, well, you can certainly kind of slot things in and go, well, this 2 months has given the aliens time to do stuff. And I think I even though I've just been watching it again while we've been talking, I forget whether there's a reference to the fact that the aliens have managed to get through and do anything whilst Sid's been out of action. Because you'd think that would make sense. I mean, I suppose the aliens plot is, well, this is an opportunity to kill Straker, and Sid is still out of action if that happens. I mean, it's one of those things where you think, would he have, if it had gone differently and he'd killed Straker, would he have had a plausible story when he came back? Or I suppose
I think he was disposable. They would have just switched him off, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
No, it's all right. Shall we do our Who watching things then? Because to be fair,
we're struggling to say anything else.
No, we are because, like we said, it's a reworking of some other stuff. It's got some nice moments, some but collectively, I mean, the guy. I did enjoy the guy in the hospital demanding a telephone, and that shot where they're going to see Sid, and they're going up in an ordinary rocket, or from Far Side the Moon, Sun, whatever. But they are going in an ordinary rocket rather than the normal one that they take to get to the moon, which is further.
Yes.
So you would think, I know, we'll take the one that's used to carrying supplies and other stuff. That's what if you were making it now, you would just use the same model shots and the same ship.
Yeah, you would. Fire away on Anderson Watch and Prisoner Watch if you have anybody that you spotted.
Anybody else? Well, I mean, to be fair, it was just the Darren Nesbitt thing, but I've already covered that with the Protectors. That was my primary one, and yeah, okay, there is a bit of a prisoner thing going on, but we're doing Anderson Watch first, yeah.
Yes. Well, so he was in 2 episodes of The Protectors as 2 different characters. So I don't know which is the one that you've seen.
The one where he's mad, but I think one of them's in one season, and one of them's in another. I think he plays a Russian called Grolsch or something.
The 2 that I have are he plays a character called Colin Foster, which is funny because Foster from UFO. And then there's another one where he plays a character called Brad Huron. So you've presumably seen the one with Colin Foster.
Yeah, that sounds alright. Oh no, he's got 2 roles in. I'm sorry, I've just scrolled through because I brought him up to see if he was still alive.
Right.
So according to the Wikipedia page, and I've now lost him. Where am I? That's Danger Man. He's after that. Emergency Ward 10, Doctor Who, Season 1, 7 episodes. That's useful. Right, Protectors, Stodgy Payne, the Loop Men in the Protectors.
Oh, I haven't got that.
No.
Oh well.
And then he's in Man in a Suitcase. Then he's in The Prisoner, possibly playing in number 2.
See, you're cheating now. You're cheating.
No, I am now. I'm right. Here we are. Back to The Protectors. Brad Huron and Colin Foster. Season 1, 2 episodes. But he's also in The Persuaders. Season 1, episode 9. The Old and the New and the Deadly, playing Grotsky. So he's either playing 2 characters in one episode or not. But either way, I will find out.
Well, that's The Persuaders, not The Protectors. That doesn't count for Anderson Watch.
Can I just say he's also in one of my all-time favourite comic strips. I've just discovered that. He's in Strike, which is brilliant. And I think he's in Eat the Rich, which is brilliant and is not on the comic strip box set.
Okay.
Eat the Rich was one of my go-to comedy movies as a kid, and
right.
It's a major influence, and most people haven't seen it.
Okay.
It's tremendous. Yes. You know what? That's perhaps what we should do as a podcast next instead of Space 1999. We could still do that, but we could just do hey, why don't I recommend something to you and you'll recommend something to me, and then we'll come together and watch it podcast.
Yeah, well, given the amount of DVDs that you sent me the other day, and I haven't watched any of them yet, I'm not...
No, that is absolutely fair enough.
Yes.
I meant eventually.
Eventually,
because
yes.
I know I've got a new job, so I do have to kind of turn up and act like I know that, and do it, yes. And not spend my time going some more science fiction thoughts. So
yes,
that's basically where I'm at with Anderson Watch. Not a lot.
Right. Okay. Well, let's crack on with it then. So we have Anushka Hempel.
Sounds very familiar.
She plays the radio operator at the beginning of the episode, and she will appear in 3 more of the remaining 5 episodes of UFO. So she's another one of these shadow people who are introduced to replace the people who left from the first production block.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm not going to like her because she's replaced Keith.
She has replaced Keith,
right?
Yes.
And that's not on. Right? No one replaces Keith. Not on my watch.
She's much better looking than him, I have to say.
Yeah, but she's not Keith, though.
No, she's not Keith. She also appears in an episode of Space 1999 called The Metamorph.
Oh, not up to that one yet.
no. Well, it sounds like you're not going to get that far.
Oh no, I am. Look,
You are.
my main Christmas present this year. I mean, we're talking the main present was the complete Space 1999 on Blu-ray, and by hook or by crook, I will work my way through.
You will watch.
I will watch them all because I got Terrorhawks as well. Oh, sorry. Can I just say how sad? How sad. See, you missed Terrorhawks out, didn't you? But Sergeant Major Zero only died like 2 days ago as we recorded.
Yes. He did.
Windsor Davies, and I know he's coming up in a not a Who Watch, but you know what I mean. He's coming up in a future.
Oh no, we've already done him. We did because
I went on
10 Lives.
Of course, I went on a great length about Adolf Hoffman. Nobody else got it.
Yes, you've already waxed. Yes, if you want to hear Michael's inadvertent tribute to Windsor Davies, who has died recently, go back to episode 19.
Exactly. So I got Terrorhawks and Space 1990 for Christmas, so that's fair enough. All on Blu-ray. So,
yes. Well, I mean, yes, I completely missed Terrorhawks. I think Terrorhawks was the year before I was born, and it's not one of those things that got repeated in that tranche of Anderson shows when I was a kid. Filmed in super macramation.
Isn't that bent bits of like twine macrame?
Yes, but this is kind of macro in terms of I don't actually know what. Yes. I did it as an Only Connect question on the Facebook group for Only Connect questions, because we now have Super Marionation for the puppets in the 60s, Super Macramation for Terrorhawks, Hyper Marionation for New Captain Scarlet, and now we've got Ultra Marionation for Firestorm. So it's kind of, you've got a nice set of four there.
I finally got to see the Firestorm thing. How good.
How
good is Firestorm going to be?
Yes.
Oh.
It's going to be exciting. And they're making a full series of 26 episodes, apparently. So,
that is so good. That is brilliant news. Very happy about that.
So, I think this has been the most exciting we've been all episode, and we're not talking about the man who came back.
Sorry.
So, let's carry on with Anderson Watch. So, we have Mike Stevens, who played the chauffeur. He was apparently an extra for 16 episodes of Space 1999. So, one of those many Moonbase Alpha personnel who just
walk around in beige,
Yes. Now, this is a proper callback. Nancy Nevinson, who played the housekeeper, so the lady who comes in and screams when she sees Gray on the floor, having been biffed over the head by Darren Nesbitt, right?
Okay.
She narrated The Adventures of Twizzle.
Good Lord. See, Twizzle, no information. Absolutely no information in my head.
No, I mean, my dad remembers those early Anderson shows.
Yeah.
So, The Adventures of Twizzle and Torchy the Battery Boy, he used to talk about the fact that those were the ones that came first. But I think because they're not proper Super Marionation, it is not properly Super Marionation until you get to sort of Four Feather Falls.
Yeah.
And then it's sort of officially called that by Supercar. So I think that sort of those really early ones get forgotten. But yes, The Adventures of Twizzle, Jerry Anderson's first puppet show, narrated by the housekeeper from this episode.
Well, there
Who knew?
you
Well,
go.
I didn't. No, I certainly went, oh, that's interesting when I looked it up. Final bit of Anderson Watch is the writer. What can you tell me about the writer of this episode?
Possibly his name. We've got Terence Feely.
Terence Feely. Does that name ring a bell for you in any way, Michael?
I'm going to go with no.
No.
I'm sorry. You know what? I need to be kicked out of fandom. I'm just
you do, but for two reasons. We're gonna lead from him into something else. So he wrote Time Lash as well. That's the UFO episode of Time Lash.
I was going to say no, he didn't. But that's fine.
Not the Doctor Who episode of called Time Lash. The UFO episode called Time Lash, which we will do in a few weeks' time. And then he wrote an episode of The Protectors and 3 episodes of Space 1999.
Right.
But the reason he should be more familiar to you, Michael, is because he also wrote 2 episodes of The Prisoner.
Oh, you see, now, I've not watched The Prisoner on the assumption that at some point we'll be doing a Prisoner podcast, and I wanted to come to it afresh, but I didn't realise it would take this length of time. So I've not seen it for a long time. For about 3 or 4 years.
Right.
And
so
you
Terence
know what?
Feely...
I'm going to do it. I'm giving in. It's been too long.
We will do it. We have to do it. So he wrote The Schizoid Man and The Girl Who Was Death.
Ooh,
if you remember either of those 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Both of which I quite enjoy. And And then the other aspect of Prisoner Watch is Darren Nesbitt, who you already looked up.
To be fair, I remembered him being a number 2.
You remember him now, don't you?
Yes, yes. Well, it's just I've been after a number 2 scarf for the longest of times, and I downloaded lots of pictures of the number 2 to see what it is, because I don't want to go into great depth about the number 2 scarf, but there is actually a provenance for it and all sorts.
Right.
There is an argument that although it's a university scarf, it's actually the scarf of the Open University, which came about around the same time. So there is an argument for that, but there's also an argument that it's a very specific Oxbridge one as well, as if they're all posh and it's the upper class keeping everyone in their place. So as a whole euphemism thing. So I did download lots of pictures of a number 2 scarf, because, and obviously they were being worn by number 2s. So that makes sense. Hence the reason that I was aware of this. So that's how I knew it was number 2. It wasn't me cheating, not completely.
No. The question is, bonus fact, which other UFO person was in that episode?
Well, of the prisoner?
Yes.
Oh, no, I can't tell you that. No. Like I said, it's been years.
So it's Wanda Ventham. So it's really funny because the fact that they have this romance in this episode was really quite funny, because I think she's just in that one, and it's quite a small part for her, but she's the one that kind of comes along with the sort of prognosis of what number 6 is going to do that day, and then Darren Nesbitt's number 2 goes, no, number 6 never buys candy, and then it turns out that there is a reason that he will buy candy. Anyway, moving on. So Darren Nesbitt takes us he's from Anderson Watch to Prisoner Watch to Doctor Who Watch.
Yes.
I'm waiting with bated breath. Do you know who he played in Doctor Who?
No, and I didn't look it up. I didn't cheat. No, it did say Series 1, right?
Yes. So we're talking and 7 episodes.
With 7 episodes, which is going to be that's the what is that, the Sensorites? No.
No, there are only 2 stories in season 1 that have 7 episodes. So,
yes, hang on.
So you've got to narrow it down.
Marco Polo?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. So in another example of...
Yes. Obviously, I don't know as much about Doctor Who as you, but I do know a fair bit.
You do know a fair bit, yes. Yes. It's one of these ones where everybody wants... It's one of the holy grails of missing episodes. But... Yeah. If it turned up, then you've got all these white actors playing Chinese or Mongolian in the case of Darren Nesbitt, because he plays the warlord Tigana, who's the bad guy of the episode. But obviously we still have his audio performance from that. So if you want to listen to Marco Polo, then you can, and it's very good, I think.
It is, but if you were given the choice of which ones to return, I still think I'd go for the Mythmakers.
Oh yeah, no, I wouldn't. I think, and the chances that it will come back are quite small. I think it's one of the ones that's missing, and you kind of think if anything's coming back, it's not going to be that one. So that's that. Right, we're nearly done with Doctor Who Watch. We've really padded this episode out with Doctor Who Watch, haven't we?
Well, you can't do that.
So we have Mike Stevens again, who, if you recall, was the chauffeur. 16 episodes of Space 1999.
Yes.
He's a reasonably prolific extra in Doctor Who as well. He plays a soldier in the aforementioned Mythmakers. He's one of the Daffodil Men in the Autons with the big heads in Terror of the Autons.
I didn't spot him in that.
No, you wouldn't do, would you? He is a prisoner and a unit motorcyclist in 2 different episodes of The Mind of Evil. So he's on both sides. And then he plays a guard in The Curse of Peladon. So one of those bit part actors who just keeps cropping up in things, and I would not have noticed that it was him. I might be on the lookout next time I watch any of those stories, though. Probably not. So we've got one final person who was the one that I forgot. So I'm hoping.
But hang on, this was an obvious one. I'm not going to.
It's a very small part, but when you see him, you're like, yes, he's him.
Okay, tell you what. Rather than giving it away, which bit's it in?
It's at the very end in the hospital.
In the hospital?
Yes. After Gray's been banged on the head and he ends up in hospital, and they have to sedate him.
And it's somebody who goes... What is it?
It's somebody in that room with him. It's not the nurse, no.
There's a nurse and a doctor. It's a bit where he's demanding a phone call.
Yes.
Right, okay. I don't know, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to fast forward through the DVD and see if I can recognise the face.
I'm sure you will, and you'll kick yourself.
Right, so I found the scene. I'm pressing play. I am not recognising anyone. I am still not recognising anyone. Okay, the Doctor. Nope, he looks like Jeffrey from Rainbow.
Well, that's the person that you should be focusing on.
Okay. Was he older in something I knew?
No. Like two of his performances in Doctor Who were pretty much either side of this.
Right. Okay.
So, like, he'd just been in it, and then he would be in it again.
Well, in that case, he's got to be a unit soldier.
No,
I was going to say,
but he is a soldier in two of his. Oh, actually, sorry. Technically, no. You're right. You're right. In his third and final, very brief performance, he is a unit soldier. But the one he's most famous for, he's a World War I soldier.
So, what? Is it the bloke who runs the ambulance in War Games?
Yes.
There you go.
It's Lieutenant Carstairs.
Right. Hooray. Incompetent but resilient. That's me.
Yes. So David Saville, who was Carstairs in the War Games, he was then the scientist Windsor in the Claws of Axos, who got right on the Third Doctor's nose until he got absorbed by Axonite.
That is a big nose to get on as well. Yeah.
Yes, and then he's the Brigadier's replacement in the Five Doctors. He's Colonel Crichton, right? In that scene where Pat Troughton comes in and goes, "You've had this place redecorated. I don't like it." And then he's like, "Who was that? The Doctor."
Tomorrow's
anyway.
Times. No,
Tomorrow's Times. Yes, Tomorrow's Times. That whole thing. Yeah, he's like, "I saw it in the Times. How do you know? The reporter's still here. Tomorrow's Times." And he's like, "My replacement wasn't very promising either, Brigadier." Yes. So there you go.
Hooray! So
my Doctor Who radar pinged immediately when I watched this episode.
Yours is a lot more. You know what? Can I just say, in real life, and I know I don't. I tend to stay away from real life as best I can. I can't. I think I've got some sort of mental block when it comes to people, because if you take someone out of their the situation where I know them from, or put them in a different set of clothes, I don't know who they are or where I know them from.
But you recognise their face.
I think I know you. You've registered. I saw my old neighbour who used to live across the road, and he lived across the road from us for 2 years. And I saw him in the shops, and I was like, right, know your face. I'll be Smiley. No idea who you are. Please God, please God, you could be famous for all I know, right?
Yes.
And it's rubbish. I have a real issue with this. And God help me when it comes to names. I mean, I'm so pleased I work in a place where everyone has name badges. I think the world should have them in every single thing. So I'm just pleased I can recognise anyone. So putting them on TV, it's fine. You know, I can remember people when they're kind of in that small 3x4 box or whatever format you want to have it in. But put people in real life situations, forget it. So I'm quite pleased with that. Right.
I know what you mean. Occasionally you see somebody, and I think the weirdest one was when I saw this lady at Hooverville, and I was like, I feel that I know you, and I knew she wasn't famous in the sense of being one of the guests. And then I rewatched one of the documentaries on one of the DVDs, and realised that she was one of the people on the documentary about bootleg VHS tapes in the 70s and 80s. And I was like, wow, your face stuck in my head from one DVD extra, and then I kind of see you at Hooverville. I mean, it obviously makes sense that she was there.
Yeah. My wife does point out to me that I can remember practically anything as long as it's been on a TV screen.
Yeah. My wife complains the same. She's like, your head is... Why can't you remember X? Whatever X is. Something important in our daily lives.
Yeah.
Something important. And she's like, but you can remember all the episodes of Doctor Who.
Yeah, the reason I can't remember that is because I've only got this much memory, and it's all taken up.
And it's all filled up with useless trivia from my childhood.
And somebody, what are you thinking? Said someone. And the answer is almost invariably, well, I'm rerunning an old episode of something in my head while you talk.
So, finishing on an exciting note, because we should wrap this up. A guy that I occasionally freelance for posted a thing on his LinkedIn today, and it turns out that his grandfather wrote 4 episodes of Thunderbirds.
Ooh.
Yeah. David Robertson, I think his name was. And they're the only things he's credited for on IMDb, but there's a little video clip of him on YouTube where he's being interviewed about working on Thunderbirds, and he says that he's about to finish writing an episode of Dr. Finlay at the same time. And I'm like, what happened? Because IMDb does not say that he wrote an episode of Dr. Finlay, but this clip from like the 60s says that he's it. I mean, the chances are it means that IMDb is incomplete. But just to kind of go,
it could
I've
be
been
the other Dr. Finlay, because Dr. Finlay, you have to remember, ran on the radio as well for a long time, and audio stuff tends not to make it across that far.
That is a thought.
Because Dr. Finlay's there was Dr. Finlay and Dr. Finlay's Casebook, and I'm not familiar with either of them, but I do know that it ran on the radio 4 years as well.
Well, and then they remade it in the 90s.
See, that passed me by, but it does make sense.
Yeah, with the guy who played Mr. Darcy in the 80s version of Pride and Prejudice, David Rintoul. But yes, the 60s version of Dr. Finlay isn't. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We are properly off the beat.
We
track
certainly
now
are. And you know what? Thank you so much for still being with us, if you indeed are.
Well, it depends on whether I edit this out. I think there's several digressions might need to be trimmed in the editing of this episode.
No.
So, that was that.
Yes.
What are we doing next time, Michael?
Next time, I'm consulting the massive book. I think it's Psycho Bombs. It's Psycho
It
Bombs.
Is Psycho Bombs.
Ah, yes.
That won't be accompanied by an interview with one of the stars, because although I met him at ShadowCon, he wasn't interested in doing an interview with me. But we can talk about that more next time.
Certainly can. So until next time, be seeing you.
Be seeing you.
That was the Doctor Who Tin Dog Podcast, available on iTunes, YouTube, Twitter, RSS, Vimeo, and across the internet. Doctor Who and its associated properties are all copyright and trademark of the BBC. No infringement is intended. Why not become a supporter by visiting patreon.com/tindog. Contact the show on tin-dog@hotmail.co.uk. The Tin Dog Podcast is a founder member of the Doctor Who Podcast Alliance.